What is up? Coming to you live from the jungle, the house of the tiger, somewhere in Orange County. It's time for Dre's Geek Philosophy Podcast, the Monday edition, the November 16th edition, episode 200. Somehow, some way, I have dragged this podcast, kicking and screaming, to 200 episodes. Oh, Rolando has joined us already. Awesome, yes. And we are on a little bit earlier than we normally are. I made the effort to try to get on a little bit earlier today. Because no 8:45s today. We still have the... We just... my wonderful wife just finished doing a lot of the moving. We moved into the jungle last week, but we still had to vacate a lot of stuff from the cat house. And my lovely wife put in a Herculean effort while I stayed here and did Daddy Dre care with Baby Tiger. Both of which were challenging tasks. I think that is the longest sustained time I've taken care of Tiger, other than the two times my poor wife had to go to the hospital. But admittedly so, it was a lot. Those times were technically easier because little Tiger was just a little adorable little blob who just wanted to eat and poop. But the current Tiger, oh no, he has emotions. He has expressions. He wants to do things. He does not want to be just lying there in the bed. He wants, hey, Dad, play with me. Let's look at the mirror. Let's go touch the mirror. Hey, Dad, put on some music. Let's dance. And we had an 80s dance party. The boy loves a good beat. He loves a good... We've been confirming this these last couple weeks. If we put on a song with a really good beat to it, with some nice rhythm, he just stands up in his crib and he starts shaking his tush. He is just the most adorable little thing. This little tiger of ours. He's a funny cartoon character, and we love him. He is half me and half the lovely Rosa, who's over here on the right here, going through stuff. Hi. We're still our house looks like a tornado blew through it, but that's what happens when you move. When you move from you grab all your possessions from one place and take them to another. And it just so happened that episode 200 happened to land 2 weeks after we moved. But hey, you can't plan these things out. You can plan out a move, but you can't plan when a podcast lands on a quote-unquote milestone episode. And unfortunately, Pete Molini was reaching out to me. He wanted to join via Zoom or via Skype, but Spectrum, we couldn't get it set up. So some stuff that was out of our hands, we couldn't get it set up in time. Hopefully for next week's episode, we can have some internet. Right now, we are purely relying on the power of my phone. Hopefully we don't get any delays on the phone. Yeah, I wanted to reach out to past guests and past co-hosts. I was hoping to try to gather people up via Skype or Zoom or however, and try to do something special for old 200 here. But you know what? I was thinking about it today. I was talking about it with my boss because I let him know. Yeah, today's a big milestone for the podcast. Honestly, thinking back, I don't know. I didn't even know if I was going to get to like podcast episode 20, let alone 200. So, considering the origins of the podcast, the beginning was built out of my depression, built out of trying to build something from nothing at the verifiably the lowest point in my professional career, trying to find some footing, try to put my feet down somewhere and do something. I felt like everything was slipping past me. I couldn't find a normal job. I had all this creative stuff but couldn't put it into anything. And then Sam Zia, former or executive producer excessively long, Sam Zia, he had been harping on me for a long time. We should be doing a podcast, even way back when I was still working for Nintendo. I was like, we gotta do a podcast. And I was like, I'm pretty sure if I did a podcast and got caught, Nintendo would fire me on the spot. Let alone I'm responsible for the various social media rules that they have for Nintendo employees. Sorry, everyone. That was my fault. Directly. verified it was my fault. We can verify that it is my fault that that the whatever social media rules that Nintendo has, and a couple of my friends, I did have friends who lost their jobs over time because of social media. Yeah, you cannot speak ill of any of the clients, i.e. Walmart. I used to slag Walmart on a regular basis on my Facebook wall before the rules were made. Unfortunately, one of my good buddies, he years, I think it was even after I had left Nintendo, I found out that he had spoke ill of evil Walmart, and someone reported it, I guess, or they were monitoring his Facebook. I'm pretty sure someone ratted him out. That's how it works. That's how I got caught. Someone from my Nintendo Facebook group or whoever I friended, somebody ratted me out, and that's how I got caught. And that's where they established everything. Yeah, that's right, James. Episode 200. But yeah. Sorry about that, fellow Nintendoers. But yeah, to circle back around, of course, hey, it wouldn't be an episode of Dre's Geek Philosophy without tangents, without ridiculous tangents that I go upon. Yeah, so I for years, even going as far back as like 2010, 2011, after I'd met Crazy Sam Zia, he's like, oh, we gotta do. You got the voice, you got the stories, you got all this stuff. We got to do a podcast. I was like, no. I was working for Nintendo, and then I had left Nintendo. I was working for Disney. And I was like, ugh, even more litigious and very. I'm like, I'm working under several NDAs. I mean, I could have leaked so many things about the Marvel Universe back in 2013, stuff that still applied going forward to even 4 or 5 years after. But no, after my career as a tablet rep went into flame. Yeah, I'm a legend. I got my own. I am responsible for all the social media things that poor Nintendo reps have to deal with today. Yeah, I left my mark on Nintendo Merchandising Incorporated, or I think legally it's called NES Merchandising. They established it in '88, whatever. But yeah, if we go back to the origin, yeah, it was late 2016. I had just finished doing a ridiculous movie challenge. One of my favorite podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts for years. Going back to like 2010, 2011, I've been listening to podcasts left and right. And one of my favorite podcasts, Doug Benson's Doug Loves Movies. He had every year he'd put out the big challenge. Try to watch 365 movies you haven't seen before in 365 days. And I was doing that. I was documenting everything on Twitter and on Facebook. And I was trying to think, okay, I gave myself that kind of like challenge because 2016 sucked. I had lost my job. I can really the way I got by that year. I for years I could never reveal what I was doing on the side because there's a lot of great stories. I was a driving school instructor, and believe me, I probably should do an entire episode of the driving school stories. They're terrible. So the owner of the driving school, he occasionally watches this here and there, but and so I was like, nope, can't talk about it. I might have to now that I'm pretty far removed from the driving school now, almost 2 years. Actually, almost exactly 2 years to the day. Yeah, I think it was when I got my current job at the Crazy Video Game Warehouse. It's almost I think it was just before Thanksgiving when I went back to the Video Game Warehouse and got myself a job, and I've moved myself up from working in the mailroom all the way up to being a sales manager of our wholesale website. And it's been a couple years of that. So yeah, 20. But rewinding back, it wouldn't be Dre if I didn't do this. End of 2016, 2016 I was doing the driving school thing, and that was insane, but I was like, oh man, can't talk about any of this stuff. And it was just the driving school, like it dries up during the winter, and I was like, oh my god, I have nothing. I had started to drive Uber. I had gone back to GameStop for 3 months, and that was horrifying, and then I was summarily fired from them. The day I was fired was the same day, fucking 4 years ago, when Trump got elected. That was a really horrendous day. And it was like a week after, I was like, all right, I was finishing up the movie challenge. It's like, oh, what are you gonna do for 2017? I'm like, I don't know. I had been, I did the movie thing, And I was doing some sketches. And the year before that, I think I'd done a bunch of sketches. And I'm like, oh, I need a new creative challenge. And I forget, a couple different people said, you should do the podcast. And I think, and that's when, like, Sam's like, you got to do the podcast. You got to do the podcast. And then Pete Molini, like, he'd always talked about, like, oh, like him and a few other people, they always want to get a podcast off the ground. They wanted me to do the intros. They wanted me to break out the announcer voice, introducing Pete Molini. You know, do that. I was like, oh, like, I think I can do the podcast. I'm like, I ain't got anything else to do. I'm just driving Uber and working part-time at the driving school. I'm like, let's do this. Let's, right, January 1st or whatever, the way we figured out, because originally it was just going to be me and Pete with my laptop, went and bought a couple of these snowball mics. I found these at Best Buy. And I was like, all right, it was just me and Pete. And I'm like, all right, Pete, let's do this. We're going to do the podcast. We're going to do it at the comic shop. We're going to do it. And then Sam's like, why not just come here? And then here, that the quote unquote, the secret podcast studio. That for those who don't know, now it's not much of a secret. We were recording at iHeartRadio. Because executive producer Sam Zia, I think he still works there occasionally. He had messaged me that he was working on the Charger game. We were recording, so the secret podcast studio, in case that the worst kept secret of all time, the first year or so of the show, we were doing it at iHeartRadio. We were doing it ironically, and like we were using where the right wing station was based out of the horrible AM 1150. We were using that station. It was pretty cool because that was the same room that Mark Maron was using when he was living out here, when he first started doing WTF. When he would sneak into, or he still had his passkey from working for Air America. He was doing KFI, or back then, I think it was when 1150 first started, it was a left-wing station, but apparently there's not enough advertising for left-wing stations, but there's plenty of terrible advertising for right-wing stations. And they flipped the station, and they got rid of that. They got rid of everybody, and then Mark Maron, like, all right, him and his producer, they just snuck into the iHeartRadio building, or back then I guess it would have been the Clear Channel building, and they started recording WTF, or trying to do stuff there, until their passkeys didn't work anymore. And so I thought I felt it was very appropriate that let's start doing the show from there. And on the first episode, and then from the second episode on for a good while, we were doing it from that iHeartRadio studio. It was so funny because like those first couple months, it was like I felt like, oh my god, we're gonna get in so much trouble. It's like once somebody finds out, like, oh, we don't belong here. We're using a professional studio without paying for it. And it was just me and Pete were just paranoid. We're a couple of a couple of simple nerds. What? Airheads? Oh, is that like the movie? I've never seen that movie. Oh. Like the Lone Rangers. I only know that because someone mentioned it on the podcast the other day I was listening to. And, yeah, we were sneaking in, but it got to the point like all the employees, like, Sam, apparently, he's like bulletproof there. Sam has been working for Clear Channel / whatever. Uh-oh. Hear Tiger in the background there. Sam, he's still, like I said, he still works there. He's freaking like bulletproof there, so he could do whatever. He could do anything he wanted within reason. The booth wasn't being used for anything else, so that was perfectly fine. Oh, let your goofball friends come in and record an hour of a podcast, whatever. And it was. And I have to give credit to Sam. It was Sam's. Originally, we were just going to only do just the audio because that's what I was always taught. Hey. That's what podcast is. You just record the audio. But it was Sam Zia who said, oh, we need your face on it. It's because I'm so animated. And yes, I usually don't get to see myself. Even to this day, 200 episodes, just watch it. Because I'm watching myself when I'm doing this. The screen is facing me. That way I can see the comments when people comment. That's why all my shirts are always in reverse. It seems like in reverse. See, when you guys see it on the screen, it doesn't correct it on the other side. I'm still getting used. It was Sam's idea. Like, we got to do it on Facebook Live because at that point, that's when Facebook was really pushing Facebook Live. I don't know if you guys remember that early 2017. Oh, broadcast your New Year's on Facebook Live, where your Facebook app was constantly telling you, "Go live, hey, go live, go live, go live." Why don't you go live? Why don't you show everyone what you're doing? Show everyone where you're at. Show them when you're at a sporting event or at a concert. Just go live. There's even like big freaking ads everywhere. Go live on Facebook. And again, I was resistant to it. I'm like, oh, I don't want that sounds weird. That's not a part of what a podcast is. Like, nah, like no. Then like Sam wanted to rig up a camera where it was just like rig it to my face. I'm like, how about we just get a tripod or something, just put it right there. I remember like I bought like I think it was the same little phone holder I was using in my car for Uber. I literally just connected it to the professional mic stand that when we recorded the first year or so, I would just hook it up onto that. It was just like bloop, clip on, and slap my phone on there. The first one, infamously, sorry, we did it in freaking vertical instead of horizontal. I still are catching flack to this day. And it was great because the first few episodes, we got lots of views because that's when Facebook was really pushing the live thing. They were like, oh, they'd send it out. Hey, everyone, look, this person's on live. Look. And then like 3 months later, it's like, hey, if you want to be pushed out like you were pushing it before, you need to pay for it. And I'm like, pay for it? I'm barely eking out an existence. This is bullshit. And we still kept doing it on Facebook Live, even though like Sam then he's like, let's just pivot to YouTube Live. And I'm like, it's like we're screaming into the void. Like that seemed like a bad idea. YouTube seems to be, it's like, as I struggle with it right now, I haven't been able. Again, last week I said I was going to try to post the videos. No, we're still in the bit. We moved with a small baby. It's just pure chaos. We don't have time. There's hardly time for anything. And then right now at work, I had been able to sneak in. Hey, I'm a sales manager now. I have my own office. I was able to sneak in and work on the podcast stuff sometimes. Right now, it's Christmas for us already. It's freaking November 16th. Chaos has already ensued at work. I had the longest day, which was also the shortest day today at work. It was like I blinked. I went in at 11 and I blinked. It's 5 o'clock already. What's going on? I'm like, I still had 2 hours of work left to do, but I was like, oh my God, where did the time go today? It disappeared. But yeah, Sam wanted us to flip to YouTube. Oh, screw Facebook. I'm like, no, we've already established, honestly, most of especially the live audience is usually just people who I know, friends and acquaintances. And, and I appreciate that because I like that because usually once we get really rolling here, some people get in with the comments and questions, people kind of who know what they kind of know the score of who I am or they're learning who the hell I am. And then it would just go off into the ether and I didn't understand sharing until through the podcast, ironically, I met the lady who would become my wife, and she's the one who taught me, oh, you should be sharing this to other groups. I'm like, what? And then we have chaos over here with my mother-in-law over here dropping stuff. It wouldn't be a good episode of Dre's Geek Philosophy if there wasn't some chaos going on. That's how it always is. It used to just always be Sam causing the chaos all the time, deliberately. That's another thing. Like, as much as I love Sam Zia, he would deliberately try to make me mad. He wanted me to be angry on the show, which, from my perspective, I don't think that's entertaining. I feel like, I'm sure most of you viewers, I don't know, like unless I'm being really funny and angry, like while I'm being angry, I think maybe that would be fun. But if it's just me being angry to the delight of only one person, Sam, then I didn't feel like that made quality podcasting. But circling back, here I'm getting all over the place. But yeah, I met this wonderful woman who's talking, oh yeah, you should be doing this because like she's very social media savvy, and like I started sharing the show, and all of a sudden, we went, because I remember early on we were getting 4 or 5. I remember we got 1,000 views once. I'm like, this is awesome, we're on the way. And then Facebook wants me to pay for views. I'm like, no, I'm not going to pay you for views. There's no budget for that. I'm broke. I'm still relative. I mean, I'm not broke now, but I'm married with a kid. I'm effectively broke. all the money goes towards taking care of us, taking care of the 3 of us. So there's no, I'm going to be dropping $40-50 a month just for some extra views so some strangers can come on my show and be like, oh, this guy sucks. He just talks about his life. Ugh. Nah, I'm not doing any of that nonsense. But yeah, we just kept rolling along, and eventually it was like we stopped doing the show at at iHeart because, over time, it's like, they don't pay their bills, so their internet sucks. I'm just straight up. Because 100 episodes ago, we'd stopped doing it because Sam was getting busy. Like, he wasn't going to be working Monday nights anymore. And it was like, oh, he'd have to go out of his way to get us into the studio, and I didn't want to put him out like that, where it's like, because before, we were going in while he was working. He used to work Monday nights, and he wasn't going to be working Monday nights anymore, but he's like, oh, I'll still come in. I still want to do the show. And then it was just like, we'd get connection issues, trying to connect through the guest login. We weren't able to stream it on Twitch anymore. It was becoming more of a headache than it was worth. And so we stopped doing it from there, but then episode 100 came around, and Sam's like, come on, let's do it for old time's sake. And so we did the episode 100 from the secret podcast studio, aka iHeartRadio, but it was just a disaster. I mean, the Facebook feed got cut off halfway through. It was unpleasant. That's why I was like, oh, for today's episode 200, I'm like, let's just keep it simple. You know what? There's stuff way beyond my control here. We're trying to get Wi-Fi, trying to figure out all this Skype stuff. I was like, you know what? Let's just keep it simple. Let's just do a little quick retrospective. But if you're still watching, I saw your suggestion. We're going to get to that because I made sure I watched that episode of Mandalorian this past weekend. We've been very busy, but the wife and I, last night we watched, or no, not last night, the night before, Saturday night, we watched episode 2 of The Mandalorian. We're still an episode behind. We haven't seen the Sasha Banks episode. AK, spoiler alert, Sasha Banks, the professional wrestler, was on The Mandalorian. I saw that all over Twitter. But don't worry, Ryan, we're going to get to that. I saw your suggestion. We're going to use it today. I guarantee it. But yeah, we did episode 100. It was terrible. And I was like, nope, we're not doing it from the podcast studio ever again. No, we're going to keep, we're going to keep doing it from Nostalgic Books. And so like Nostalgic Books and Comics became the home of the show for the following, 50, 60 episodes. We kept doing it there up until Pete started getting busier. I mean, the guy is the mayor of comics in the San Gabriel Valley. He's the East LA mayor of comics. He's a very busy man. And he told me, like, oh no, he won't, because Mondays he's going to start to be busy, so he couldn't be on the show anymore, and therefore, I couldn't do the show anymore from Nostalgia Books Comics. I'm like, oh my god, what am I going to do? And my wife was like, oh, let's just do it from home. And then she jumped in the co-host chair while she was very pregnant, and she joined me on the show for several months up until the kid was born. And now the bouncing baby tiger is around. It's very hard unless we have a third party here watching the baby. It'd be very hard to have the wife sit down and sit here with me. The last time she joined us was the Black Lives Matter episode. That's where we're like, all right, we had grandma watch the baby, and wife and I jumped on, and we spoke our piece on everything that was going on with Black Lives Matter earlier this year. But now it's weird because I remember when that was happening, I was like, oh my god, can I fly solo doing the show, especially after the pandemic, because Jai was going to come down and other people would be willing to come down, but once the pandemic hit, it's like, oh, this is going to be a solo sholo now for me, which, thank you, Rolando. And yeah, I feel like I've kind of got used to it. The hardest part is it was always nice to have Pete. I always liked having Pete or my wife as the kind of the Pete always loved his comparison. It was like the Doctor Who and the companion, because the companion is always the audience surrogate, and it's always very nice to have an audience surrogate with you when you're doing this stuff. Because me, I get in my head too much, and I start talking and explaining too much, and it's always nice to have that person who represents the audience sitting next to me going, oh no, let's bring you back down. You're going too fast. You're going too high. You're out of your mind. Let's bring you back down to here. You're going too fast, Ray. You're getting too deep into your own head, or I'm over explaining. But I feel like I'm trying to be more conscious of that, and doing all these shows solo. I mean, we got off that one time where Jai joined us via Facebook Live, but apparently we look like mutant monsters. The Facebook Live does not handle the split screen well. Like on my phone and on Jai's phone, it looked perfectly normal. I was over here, Jai was over here, and it was like it looked perfectly normal. But when my wife was watching it back, it's like, you guys look really weird. We're like, it looked like I was like right here if you're watching the video, and then Jai looked like he was like all up in your business. And yeah, so we're still trying to figure out a solution. My friend Rolando, he helped me test when we had Wi-Fi for a little while back at the old cat house. I tested out Skype. It worked pretty well. The only challenge is I have to get a lot better at editing audio. And I have to make sure I don't talk over. It's easier to not talk over a person next to you, but if you're talking to someone via Skype or Zoom, it's a little harder to manage the talking over and then making sure the audio, because the mic was picking me up very well, but the audio program wasn't picking up the other person well. So I could go and I could fix that, but this is why editors get paid a lot of money to fix that kind of stuff. But yeah, that brings us to now, where now I'm here in Orange County. We're still figuring that out, and as the last 20-30 minutes, the show continues to evolve and continues to change. We're gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. Honestly, there's times where I'm like, I don't know if I can keep doing it. Because we get busy here with the, I'm sure, I don't know if you can hear in the background, with Tiger, I have a little boy now. Weirdly, yes, it was easier when I was a single bachelor, just, shouting swear words into the internet. Now I'm a dad and a husband, and I have bigger things to worry about, but I still feel an obligation to deliver this. This is my commitment. Every week to come on here and just touch base with everybody. And it's fun because sometimes there's stuff to talk about. Like last week, the Xbox Series X and the PS5 came out, and chaos ensued. And it seems like it's just, people were fighting each other just to resell them. And the few people who bought them purely to play them, it's like, all right, where are the games? Especially on the Xbox side, it seems frustrating for those people. I feel bad. For gamers of all walks of life, I like, even if I was not married with a child, I would not be picking up a PS5 right now. I'd be like, I'm gonna wait a year. I've learned this. I am a slut for Nintendo. I will buy their stuff day one, no questions asked, and that's even before I was an employee for them. Well, before I was an employee, I was broke. I wasn't buying their systems day one, but. Now that when I was a little fiscally better, I'm like, I'm the day one with them. Like the Switch, day one. Wii U, I bought that day one. I don't regret that. It was a cool system. It was a cool concept, but yeah. I see Ryan's talking right there. There's bricking issues with storage. Yeah, it's like there's all kinds of different problems. There's always problems with the first run. This is like any electronic product. You buy that first run. If they haven't worked out all the kinks, you wait a year. You wait a while till they get all the kinks out. That's like I always joke that like when I bought my PS2, I bought one of the last the large models right before they were about to get rid of those and transition to those really skinny weird ones. I got one of the last ones. I was like, I deliberately, all right, I need a PS2 now. I'm gonna get that early. Like 2004 or 2005. I think it was 05. Prior to that, I had only owned a GameCube, but after that, I think my birthday, my buddies got me an OG Xbox, and then bought myself a PS2. I'm like, I have all the systems now. I'm buying all the games. Yes, I can play God of War. I can play Halo. Woo! So yeah, right. So you're right. Ryan will just wait for a special edition PS5. Wait for one that looks cool. I'll wait for one that's like red and blue. It looks like Spider-Man. They should have just done that off the bat, but who knows? I heard there's custom plates and everything. See, I like to get on here and talk about this kind of stuff. We get some like-minded nerds on here to talk about this, and over time we're gonna keep growing. I just keep pushing this. My wife goes, "Do you expect to get famous from this?" No, I don't expect to get famous. The end game is just to continually provide. See, Ryan, I have that exact same one. I think we discussed this before. Yeah, I bought my PS4 when Destiny came out. Ordered it on Amazon, no problems. And the Arctic White, the box is like right over there. I haven't unpacked my PS4 here, our de facto Oh, de facto Blu-ray player. Collected all the Infinity Stones. Nice. Yeah, just gonna keep on going. There's no reason. I got no reason to stop. I have awesome patrons like Ryan Tanaka and Daniel Wong and Arts Lawyer who are helping subsidize this thing, so it doesn't eat up $150 out of my wallet every year to keep the audio portion of the show. Yeah, see, James, you also have that White Destiny edition. Yeah, that's right. The OG one, not the because I remember for Taken King they put out the one with all the etchings on it. I was like, oh man, that seems kind of cool. But I was cool with my Arctic White one. It's sweet. It looks nice. It got really dirty because I'd always bring it with me to do the podcast that first year because we would stream using that one. We'd stream using one of those weird PS VR games on the camera. It was really odd. I think there's a couple of episodes of those archived on our YouTube page. It looks really weird. Another Sam Z idea. I think that he used that same concept when he was doing shows on Playboy Radio. Because obviously, if you're doing a show on Playboy Radio, you're going to definitely need video for that. But yeah, just 200 down, another 200 to go. Eventually, it's going to be me and Tiger doing the show. It'll change from Dre's Geek Philosophy to Father and Son Nerd Talk, where I explain nerd stuff to my son, and he goes, "Dad, that's weird." I just imagine there's going to be a lot of that somewhere down the line. Gonna be a lot less swearing. We're not swearwolves. We're werewolves. Honest, I feel like I've already been, like, even on the show, I've been kind of like dialing it back, where like if you go back and watch some of the old episodes, it's just a swear, like an F-bomb every minute. Now it's just like, oh, I'm dialing it down. He understands a lot more. He's in the other room. He can hear Dada. He weirdly likes a podcast voice Dada, even though he gets, happy daddy voice. Hey buddy, how's it going, my big guy? But yeah, I'm trying to avoid his first word being the F word, as hilarious as that is, and as much as comedy always comes first for me. That I don't know, long-term growth, probably not a great idea, where he's just going to be around and going, fa, fa, fa. Yes, he loves music. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. Yes, you're singing, right, boy? My boss, he's a funny dude. He has a couple of little boys of his own. He tells me that his boys, they know the swear words, but they don't say them. They just spell them out. I'm like, oh, that's pretty funny. Like, I think back in the, did I do that when I was a kid? It's like, oh, he said F-U-C-K. What the S-H-I-T? Well, it'd be pretty hard to spell out cocksucker. That'd take you longer to spell it out than to think about it. Just I think all of the 7 words that George Carlin taught us that we cannot say on television. And yet here we are, because the internet is not television. I still put the parental guidance warning on every single one of these episodes on SoundCloud to go out to iTunes. So every single episode has the explicit. We still drop the bombs here and there, and heaven knows if Jai is watching, I have to read one of his quotes unquote out, or when Jai eventually does rejoin us at some point, because the man loves talking more than I do. I enjoy the sound of my own voice, but no one loves to hear themselves talk more than Jai T. Polidor. Yeah, and then it's funny because I put it out. Speaking of people from the show, I gotta give, again, I still gotta give Pete a lot of credit. Without him, I don't think we would have gotten as far as we did. Yeah, he's a great. If I'm the comedian, he's the great straight man to me, because he'd always be like, sit there and listen to all my nonsense, and then be able to kind of like check me when I would get something a little wild or a little wrong. He's always great at that. Yeah, he's been dealing with me for 20 plus years, so he knows how to put up with my nonsense. And honestly, he's a great co-host. He's a good number 2 in all these types of shows, because he knows when to chime in. He's a writer. He's a creative. he knows how to measure out his words and put them in at the most effective use. Less is always more with good old Pete Molini. And yeah, he reached out to me and he said, "Oh, like yeah, he can." He was willing to rearrange the schedule so if he could join me via Skype or Zoom, whatever, tonight. But I was like, we don't have the internet. I don't think we can pull it off. Don't worry. He's busy Monday nights now, so I didn't want to put him out. We'll see maybe during the holidays. Maybe if we can get our shit together, whatever the first Monday of 2021 is, that'll technically be, or actually no, it'll be the third Monday. Whatever the third Monday 2021 is, that'll be the 4-year anniversary. What do I think about the Justice League reboot? The more I hear that, how you doing, Danny? The more I hear about this Justice League reboot, the less I want to watch it. Zack Snyder he keeps leaving me a bad taste in my mouth. I feel like I'm an old fuddy-duddy who likes his superheroes to be old-fashioned. I think me and Pete are in the same boat on that. We like our Supermen to be heroic and apple pie and all American flag, truth, justice, and the American way, whatever that means now. But it's gonna be a thing. It's so funny because they keep adding people to it, and then today Zack Snyder says, "Oh, we're only adding 4 minutes." I'm like, but you're adding the Joker, and you're adding Mera from Aquaman, and you're adding freaking they're adding all these people to it. They're adding more Deathstroke than but you're only adding 4 minutes. All the messaging seems like it's just I don't know. I guess it's to the viewer. He definitely has a bunch of fans who like his style. One of my nerd buddies who's out in Louisiana, who I respect very much, he's a very big fan of what Zack Snyder's been doing. The kind of the hyper realistic, kind of super ultra violent, very dynamic. And don't get me wrong, I think as a visual filmmaker, I like his style. I mean, 300 is freaking great. He followed what was written, and he shot a dynamic movie. Watchmen, your results may vary, but he followed the book as close as you can with whatever edits they made, and it very felt like, hey, how's it going, Bradley? It felt very it felt like I was reading the book. He was very faithful to the original source material, and that's where I kind of disagree with what he's done with Man of Steel and Justice League and Batman vs Superman, where he kind of he followed the book, he followed what was given to him in those first two movies, and with Man of Steel going forward, they kind of do what you want. The warehouse fight scene, that was straight up like, if you hand me a PlayStation controller and I'm like, oh wow, this is an amazing Arkham game, and that's what that warehouse fight felt like. See, everyone calls that first Justice League Joss Whedon. That was a lot of that was already shot by Zack Snyder. So it's just, I don't know. It's good. I don't think it's gonna be great. I don't know what it's gonna be. It's gonna be 4 episodes of unknown, very, I don't know. Zack Snyder, his stuff, it's dark for the sake of being dark. I love me some darkness. Believe me, I can get in some real noir shit. I love that. Give me some LA Confidential. I love that kind of the everything's gray, black, and it's not black and white. But I feel like Zack Snyder stuff, it's dark for the sake of it. Just let's just make it dark. Let's make Superman a giant asshole. Superman is, I don't know. Again, it's to each their own. Danny, if you enjoy it, by all means, please enjoy it. I hope somebody does. Because for me, I don't know, in my nerd brain, the Justice League is one of my favorite things ever. The comic book and the concept, believe me, I've collected most of the books from 1989 to up until recently, until I stopped buying comics. I've bought every Justice League comic that has existed. I love the concept of the super team, and when a really good writer gets his hands on it, friggin' J, what is it? What's his damn name? Well, this is where I need Pete here because my brain's going. J.D. Monteith and his freaking partner. The late '90s, the early '90s Justice League was hilarious. But then later on, Grant Morrison in the late '90s, he did a really awesome, epic Justice League. There's been other writers who've done really great jobs with it. Brad Meltzer did an amazing job. This guy was a novelist who dabbled in comics, and he did some amazing stuff. And then in other mediums, if you guys remember the Justice League show and then Justice League Unlimited, those were really great. You had actual comic book writers writing an animated show, which felt like a freaking, you took any Justice League comic and you just animate it. I love that quote of yours. Jai has a great quote. Man of Steel was a subpar Superman movie, but it was a great Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, but to me, like, Justice League should have been like, it should have been better than the Avengers. Because honestly, I mean, the Avengers was friggin' Robert Downey Jr. being funny and everyone else keeping up. You know, and honestly, the only one who could really keep up with him was freaking Hemsworth. He is Loki. He's my brother. He murdered 2 people. He's adopted. You know, it's weird because I go back and I rewatch the Avengers, and it was like, you know, it was amazing in 2012, but in 2020 now, it's like, oh man, it's like, it's kind of, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's just because it's Joss or whatever, it's like, I feel like it's lost a little bit of its luster, or it's like, or honestly, it's because better filmmakers have gone forward and made better Avengers movies, and then it retroactively makes the older movies not as good. I mean, after Winter Soldier, it kind of, like, in my opinion, Winter Soldier really messed everything up for the previous Marvel movies, because Winter Soldier was so damn good. It was an amazing film. Yeah, they kept their universe together, and then that's a really good thing. But as far as the Zack Snyder Justice League, it's like, no, that movie should have, the Russo brothers and the screenwriting team are awesome. Grit should only be put in when it's appropriate to the story. Like, when you got Superman and Wonder Woman and Aquaman, like, it should be friggin' more like the Super Friends. Sorry, I mean, it may be cheesy, but that's what that is. The Justice League is bright, shining stars. Like, and that's what Joss Whedon, I guess that's what he tried to do when he was re-editing and recutting what Zack Snyder shot. He made it a lot brighter, and it made it seem like that, but it was a weird mishmash with the stuff that Zack had already shot. Yeah, Johnny Favreau started the Marvel Universe, and now thank you for the segue, Ryan. Johnny Favreau's right now working on the Mandalorian. Thank you, honey. and he's letting Star Wars nerds, just like, you know, Marvel kind of is letting nerd directors like a James Gunn or the Russo brothers do nerd movies. Jon Favreau, he's letting nerds work on Star Wars nerds. Like the guy who worked on the freaking Clone Wars cartoon, which every Star Wars nerd loves. Oh, let's let him work on some live action stuff now.
It's a far cry from Swingers.
Yeah, it's a far cry from Swingers. That's right. For Johnny, good old, he's money, baby. He's money, baby. Get those honeys. And this leads us to what Ryan had posted on my Facebook wall this past week, and the wife and I watched this episode. So last Friday, not this past Friday's episode of The Mandalorian, but the previous Friday. For spoilers for anyone who's behind on Mandalorian or doesn't want to subscribe to Disney Plus until all 8 episodes are out, so they only have to pay for 1 month. You know, hey, we're behind the Mandalorian, but there's other people who don't want to pay. We're paying for it, so Ty can watch any of the Pixar short whenever we don't want please, and I can watch any movie I want on my phone. So there was a big controversy about this episode. Apparently, the social justice warriors got a little peeved. They got their miffed. They got their to quote yeah, thank you. I was gonna say knickers in a twist. That's the phrase I was going for, but panties in a bunch. Because in the English version, they got the knickers in a twist. I was thinking of my friend Paul Grimshaw the other day. That's why all this British stuff is in my head now. So Baby Yoda in this episode. So the plot, again, spoiler alert. If you haven't watched it or if you're planning on watching it later, just kind of like, I don't know, don't listen or sorry. Mando, good old Mandalorian he's trying to find more of his kind, and he's helping this frog lady, and she has a basket full of eggs. And of course, if you've been watching the show at all, Baby Yoda eats anything and everything to get his little tiny little mitts on. And a running gag throughout the whole episode is he's just going to town on this jar of eggs. And so SJWs all over the internet were losing their minds, like, how dare they? The Baby Yoda's a villain now. He's bad because he's eating these babies. And the producers of the show had to go, no, these were not babies. They are unfertilized eggs, no different than the eggs that we take out of our fridge and then cook. No, yeah, I think, no, we're talking about this, Danny, because I like Ryan, think this is ridiculous. Accusing Baby Yoda of genocide. Like, oh, because it's like, oh, it's going to end their life. Like, people are talking like the Baby Yoda's ending their species. No, it was ending their line. It's like her and her husband were just trying to continue their line. He hadn't fertilized. She was trying to get the eggs to her husband so he can fertilize them. I'm like, fertilize on them. So he could fertilize the eggs and have some baby frogs in this new place where they want to live. And it's like, genocide. He's eating eggs. Like, there was a lot of them in there. Dude. Oh man, I'm gonna dig myself a hole into this one. Do we cry over wasted sperm? I mean, clearly, did every egg that falls out, is that a genocide? I mean, really? Some people just find the weirdest things to cling on to and attack. It just, I guess people, the internet want to turn on Baby Yoda, and what the hell? Yeah, PETA might be watching. It just. I like when Ryan pointed this out to me, and I started looking up like how people were, like, and then I went on Twitter, and an acquaintance of mine who I respect a lot, like, she was so like, I can't watch this show anymore. I'm like, what? You're gonna tap out on the best thing, that Star Wars thing that's been produced, because of a sight gag of the little guy who's a baby. He's a baby. He just wants to eat. My son, if I put something in it, he's gonna put it in. My son eats like a freaking vacuum. If I put any food product in front of him, he don't care. He's gonna stuff it in his mouth. He's gonna be, oh, I'm hungry. My young man, if you could hear him, he was hungry. My wife was over here making a bottle. The boy's always hungry. Baby Yoda is a baby, the child, whatever you want to call him. I still keep calling him Baby Yoda because it's a beautiful little shorthand. I can't believe people losing their freaking minds. Like, I'm gonna stop. I can't support this show anymore. Like, and it wasn't even mass murder. It's just, you know what? He ate some eggs. You know, I don't think all those eggs were gonna make it anyway. And then, from my understanding, I think there's a joke in the beginning of the third episode that, like, actually even resolves it. Baby eats what baby wants, exactly. And he was being such a little shit about it too. He, like, any opportunity he could, he was getting at those eggs. He was like, yeah, he's a little scamp. The sidebar. Me and my wife watching the show, when we see see the Baby Yoda, all we see is our son. Like, we're just like yelling at the screen as if we're like, no, Baba, no, baby, no. We're like, just like, we're talking to the screen as if it's our child, as if it's Tiger the whole time. And it's quite hilarious. We know we're out of our minds for doing it, but that's just how we feel. We watched the whole first season during the late stages of the pregnancy, and we just get, oh, baby, oh, because we were just, our whole lives revolving around baby. And now season 2 hits, and like, he's dawdling around, and our little guy's dawdling around, and it's like, yeah, you need the stuffed animal one, yeah. I think Ryan, I think you got your hands on one of the fun moving ones that looked really cool. I think eventually when Tiger is a little bit more a little more careful of his toys, I want to pick up one of the nice little baby. I've shown it to him at Target a couple of times, and he's been like, ooh, he wants to put Baby Yoda's ears in his mouth. In an ironic twist, my baby wants to eat the Baby Yoda. But yeah, I'm so glad that Ryan, you posted that on my wall because yeah, I was like, I told my wife we got to watch this episode before Monday. We got to talk about. I got to see what people are losing their minds about. Yeah, it's a sight gag, and I think one of the freaking super social justice warrior. I read an article online about it. And it was like, oh, it's horrible. It's horrifying. You're making the next. I mean, I heard there's some Mandalorians in. There's some. If you're a big fan of the animated shows, apparently there's a lot of cool stuff. And I think the next episode, from everything I've heard, it's going to lead to Ahsoka Tano, which it's going to be really freaking cool. I'm a big fan of Star Wars. Rebels, big fan of Star Wars: Clone Wars. This show is just the best fan service you can get if you're a Star Wars fan. It's like it just. But you let some nerds who care about it work on it, and they're going to deliver for you. Apparently, I guess Bryce Dallas Howard. I think she directed the last one. Yeah, Rosario Dawson. That's right. She's playing Ahsoka. That's going to be cool. We're going to get a freaking live action, grown up Ahsoka. That was cool to see Sasha Banks, or I saw her. Mercedes Varnado is her government name. I'm like, I think that's a better wrestling name. That's a better wrestling name than Sasha Banks. Mercedes Varnado. She should totally be going. I guess the boss Mercedes. It doesn't roll off as the boss Sasha Banks. I'm not a wrestling writer. I have friends who are. I'm just a wrestling fan, but it's so cool. I love that she did that. I hope she gets to join SAG. I don't know if you got the ongoing saga of before we wrap up here, the ongoing saga between WWE and their own employees. They fired one of their female, Zelina Vega, or Thea Trinidad. She was fired because she did not take down her Twitch, and then she doubled down and she opened up an OnlyFans. No nudity. She was just putting up her body paint cosplays. And apparently that was the final straw, because she wouldn't take down her Twitch because, spoiler alert, she made more money from her Twitch than she was making from WWE. If that tells you how much of a freaking slave driving business WWE is, some of them are making more from their outside. The New Day member Big E, apparently he was making more on Cameo than he was making on his down. Especially, well, right now they're not touring, so they're only getting paid the minimum, I guess, of their contracts. They're not getting the bonuses from all the live gates, or they're not. But now WWE is taking them away. So we already had the first person. She lost her job. They released her from her contract, but she's gonna still get to keep streaming on Twitch. So I'm just wondering about the state of her husband. Her husband still works there. Alistair Black is her husband. They met while working in NXT, and they got themselves hitched together. And yeah, it's funny, I just heard an episode of the New Days podcast talking to her, like her and her husband, they have a YouTube page, A to Z, Alistair to Zelina, hey! I guess it's going to be Tommy to Thea. It's going to be T to T now. It's just the ongoing... right. All right, take out, Dan, yeah. Independent contractors who only wrestle... Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because one of their something else that I read today is there's a guy working on the creative team, this guy named Bruce Pritchard. He has his own podcast. He is a direct employee of WWE, but he had that included in his contract. He still gets to keep doing his podcast. So it's like the double standard of Vince McMahon's brain. He's that's right there. And Jai Potter, the Vince is not trying to pay. He's trying to take money from them by taking away Cameo and taking away Twitch and taking away YouTube from the rest. Because he's gonna try to garnish. He wants WWE to take control of those accounts, garnish the money. Okay, here you go. We'll give you oh wow, you made $20,000 this month on Twitch. All right, we'll keep 12. Here's your 8, and that goes towards your downside of what we owe you for your contract. It's like, where I don't know. Vince lives in his own world, and a lot of people follow along with him because like, oh wait, this is how we do it. This is what we're supposed to do. This is my dream, to work for WWE. And it just the more we learn, the more it's insane. The psychosis you have to, or the desperation to be there, and because it's the biggest, it's the highest tier. So you want to be there. You shine the brightest, but there are many things you have to give up to be there. It's insane. That's why to circle back to the beginning. That's why I don't necessarily like. It would be nice if this was a little more successful, and this could make a little side money. But I don't. Again, like I've said this before, I don't think I could handle fame well. I think if I just achieve a certain level where like this pays for itself, I can give away some games, we can have fun. Back in the future when we can hold events, I can hold events and we can all game together and mingle together, in 2027 when we finally beat this pandemic. That's called pimping work. Yeah, Vince McMahon is a pimp. He's literally a pimp. He allowed a pimp to continue to work for him. Remember that lady, the fabulous Moolah? She was a literal pimp. I bet he learned everything he knows from her. But yeah, I hope that in the future, I don't want to get famous. It's like, just achieve a little bit of fame, just keep coasting by, so we can all just kind of, as the ships rise, I can provide more stuff for you guys, and I can do more events or do more videos and do more fun stuff. I want to be able to give back to the people, all of you who come in and check in on me, and comment, and some of you who directly contribute, whether it's your comments or your actual money. I appreciate it so much. It's almost an hour. I need to go help my wife corral this young man. So we'll be back here next week, episode 201. Yeah. The contrast AEW, where they actually take care of their people. They mentioned Miro's Twitch, and yeah, exactly. But we'll be back next week, episode 201. Hopefully, if we get the internet set up right, maybe we'll get somebody in here via Skype. Instead of just me babbling solo rolo. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you again. Thanks for always, if you got any other ideas, always make sure to post them on my wall, and I'll try to make sure to work them in if I can make it work. Yeah, exactly. AEW. Yeah, that's why I've been trying. I watch their YouTube. We don't have TNT here. We don't. I try to catch all their stuff that I can on YouTube. But all right, let me wrap this up here. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, well, I don't know. I can't guarantee any other YouTube videos. Work is so busy right now, and we're still unpacking this house. So all I can guarantee is I'll be on here next Monday, and we'll see as far as other content goes. I tried to guarantee some videos last week, and that didn't happen. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good night.